In this video, we are going to be going over the buyer escrow package that you should be receiving in the mail. Now, if you only received a physical copy but you would like a digital copy, feel free to reach out to your escrow officer and let them know. Otherwise, it's pretty typical to receive this in the mail, and so you can actually fill out the physical forms and then get it submitted back to escrow. Now, understand that you do have a little bit of time typically in a traditional, let's say, 30-day escrow to get this back. But if you're having a shorter escrow, let's say a 14-day or 21-day close of escrow, make sure you're getting this back as quickly as possible. No mad rush, but the sooner you can get it back, the more helpful it is for everybody, and the more quickly they can spot any issues or concerns and make sure the process is moving forward as expediently as possible. So some of the things in this package are going to be escrow instructions. They're going to talk about the privacy policy, preliminary title report approval. Sometimes this may or may not be in this specific one as I'm going through this. But most importantly, statement of information, preliminary change of ownership report, borrower information sheet, a vesting form, and CalFIRPTA form. I'm not sure if this is going to apply in this package, but we're going to talk about these primary four ones here. Now, understand that this document I'm going through right now is only an example, so some of the things in here are not going to apply on your end, and some of them will be present, some of them won't be present on your document. So make sure you're reviewing your package that you received in the mail. This is just going to be some general overview of what you can typically expect to find in that package, and as far as the completion of it. First and foremost, the supplemental escrow instructions. When an escrow is sending over this package, they are giving you their version of what they interpret needing to happen in their execution of the purchase contract. So remember this, escrow is the go-in-between neutral third party. They play this role for the go-in-between for everybody, facilitating this transaction. So the lender, the buyer's lender goes through them, the seller's old lender goes through them. So when you're wiring your earnest money deposit, that's going to them. When you're wiring your final funds to close, that's going through escrow. And then on final closing date, escrow disperses all the funds accordingly. So if there was a termite company that tented the property in the meantime, or if there was a new title policy, of course, or a previous mortgage from the seller, they're going to be funding all of these things on closing day. So once you get your new loan and you hear that your loan is funded, that means that your lender has sent your loan funds proceeds to escrow, and then escrow is taking that money and then dispersing everything accordingly. So just understand that that is escrow's role. So you're going to be seeing stuff from escrow throughout the transaction, and it's important that you get this package back to them. So what their process in this, of course, is to execute what the agreement has been between you and the seller. So go ahead and expect to see many of the same terms that you saw in the RPA, in your residential purchase agreement, and summarized in this. So close of escrow to be, instructions and addendum, financing, whatever loan type you would put in your offer. New first trust deed loan, that's your mortgage. First trust deed is your primary mortgage. Fire insurance, home protection plans, home warranty, homeowners association, if there is one or if there's not one, who title company is going to be, how they're prorating their property taxes and other things such as HOA fees. So just make sure you review this in its entirety, your specific escrow package. And if you have any questions about anything along the way, contact your escrow officer. If they're not getting you the answer you're looking for, make sure you reach out to us or somebody on our team, and we'll make sure we get you the answer. So as they have this responsibility to be the go-in-between, just understand sometimes you might see if there is an amendment or an addendum agreed on from both parties to change something. Let's just say maybe you lowered the price if the appraisal came in low. You might see an addendum or an amendment written coming from escrow, because they're going to be the ones actually executing everything. So if you see an amendment or any supplements, don't be surprised if you're seeing that information from escrow. Again, prorational information, they'll explain exactly how they're prorating everything, so you can understand when you're looking at your final closing statement later on. title. They are also working on getting the title report from title, making sure you have a clear title when it closes. In general, a lot of this is just some general provisions. Just make sure you review everything in there. And if you have any questions, again, let them know. This is this company's specific general policies. Preliminary title report approval. Again, you may or may not have this in your buyer package, but typically you'll have something similar to this at some point in time saying that you reviewed your preliminary title report. Now, preliminary change of ownership report. When you're filling this out, pretty straightforward, but sometimes some of these things can be a little bit confusing. If there's anything that doesn't make sense or you don't think it applies to you, chances are it probably doesn't. So, again, if you have any questions, let us know. But oftentimes in a lot of transactions, not necessarily for yours, but a lot of transactions, most of these are going to be no. But again, this applies to your specific situation. So make sure you read it in its entirety. And if it applies, check the appropriate box. And this is going to go deeper into the information on the sale. Sometimes you might not have the exact information. You might not know exactly what your fixed rate is if you're filling this out right away. But give it the best you got. To the best of your knowledge, fill it out with what you are anticipating. For example, if it's asking for the close of escrow date, whatever the date is that you're planning on closing. Maybe you're going to close a week early. Maybe you're going to close a week later, but as close as possible. It doesn't have to be exact, but it's got to be correct to your knowledge. Property information, of course, just pretty straightforward information here. Statement of identity. They want to make sure that you are who you say you are and that everything matches up so that the records, public records, and the person who's claiming to be on title for this and is executing this transaction is the person they say they are. So make sure that you fill this out completely so they can identify you appropriately. And if you've had more residences than this, then you can typically attach another page or maybe even complete it here on a fourth line. But fill this out as completely as possible, and so that you can make sure that the correct information is being dealt with. Buyer's information as well. Please fill this form out completely and return it to the office. They want to know who your lender is. If you have a second deed of trust, if you have a second lien on the property, this typically is not going to be the case. But if it is, mention the lender and everybody on there. Homeowners insurance. If you are whoever you're getting for homeowners insurance, make sure you complete this because escrow is also going to be setting everything up so that once you close, your policy will be activated the same day you're closing. So you want to make sure that this information is correct. So if you've called and gotten some quotes and you're not sure who you're going with, find out who you're ultimately planning on going with and put that information down here. If you don't have the anticipated premium and whatnot, at least put somebody's name here or a contact number for them, and as much information as you can. Sometimes they'll give you like a tentative policy reference number. So at the end of getting off your phone call with an insurance agent, maybe ask if they have a policy reference number you could give to your escrow officer or to your lender, and then that way they can call in and reference that number, and then escrow or your lender can reference that real quick. So whatever that is, if you can find that, put that on here, and that will be helpful to making sure that that's all set up and ready to go. Vesting form. It is advised, if there's any questions regarding your vesting, consult an attorney or your CPA. It's advised you consult with somebody else regarding the specifics as to what is going to be the best scenario for you to take, the manner in which you're going to take title. These all have slightly different implications, tax-wise, and in terms of different scenarios, as far as like if there was a death in the family. So you want to make sure that you're selecting the correct vesting type. Down here, this will kind of give you a summary of the different highlighted points between different types of vesting, such as community property, joint tenancy, community property with right of survivorship, etc. This is a handy reference if you're not going to go talk to an attorney, but again, we cannot advise, escrow cannot, the lender cannot, your agent cannot advise you specifically on which manner you should take title. If you have any questions you'd like to discuss that further, feel free to contact escrow or us, but just understand that ultimately the decision must be left in your hands. And this is going to be a handy reference, so make sure you complete that. Now, that's pretty much it for the buyer escrow package. If you have any questions about any of this information, make sure you reach out to your escrow officer. And if, again, if they're not getting you the information you're looking for, feel free to reach out to your agent. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next video.